So for this craft, we are going to make the most adorable Santa gnome from a cutting board. I don't know where this cutting board came from. It's kind of a smaller cutting board, and a follower sent it to me. I'm going to start by just painting the top red, and I'm mixing two different reds together that I had just because I didn't have quite the right red. So I'm using some chalk paint. It is called Ruby from Walmart. And then the other one is just sort of a classic red. It's by Apple Barrel. So you can see I just start painting the top. I'm not covering the bottom because we're going to be putting the beard on there, and the beard is going to cover it up. So just be sure to get the sides and then just paint down just about halfway or so down the cutting board. And then I also decided to paint the edges because since that part's going to show, I'm not going to be covering the edges with the beard. So then even before I let it dry, I just decided to go ahead and do some white polka dots. So I'm just using some white chalk paint from Walmart. It's just the Waverly white. And then I'm also using just a really light gray by Apple Barrel. And I just start by making some dots with my white paint. And I just will start coming back with more white and just keep making the dots even brighter. You can always do this after the paint has dried. It's totally up to you. And I just keep working on them until I get them to look exactly the way that I want them to. Now you can see that I'm coming back with some of the gray a little bit to just kind of give a little bit of color variation with my dots. I want my dots to have lots of color variation. I don't want them to be just solid white. I want them to have sort of some different tones in there, which is the reason why I started going over the wet paint. You can see I'm just trying to get them a little bit more bold and white. And now I've switched brushes, and I went in with a smaller brush, and I'm just adding some gray all the way around in all of my dots, just kind of adding a little bit of variation there. So now I'm just going to dry my dots and just dry the whole board. And I'm going to come in with some black paint and a small fine brush. And I'm just going to make some little dash marks on my dots, just sort of all around in different spots, just making little dash marks. Just to add a little bit of a little something to my dots. So now we're going to start working on the beard. This is some sweater trim that I purchased from Hobby Lobby. It was actually on clearance in the clearance section for like $1. And what I'm doing is just cutting pieces that are about 1 inch wide or so. I'm not measuring it or doing it exactly. Also, I noticed that with this fringe, it's sort of made a specific way, and it almost flares on one side. So I'm putting this side that flares out on the bottom. And now what I'm doing is just coming through with each of those pieces, and I'm just making slits all across the bottom of those pieces, just to give it a little bit more of a fringe look. So now I'm just going to start hot gluing them on. I do 4 pieces on the bottom, and I just put a little line of hot glue across the bottom. And then I just start gluing the pieces to each other and down the edges so that they don't move. And then I'm just going to come in with the second row and just go about 1 inch above so that the bottom kind of meets halfway down the bottom piece, the bottom layer, or the first layer. And then I'm just going to do my last layer. I'm doing 3 layers for this specific gnome. And again, just the same way, and then I'm just coming back and just kind of making sure they're all glued down and in place. And here I'm just sort of fluffing it up, kind of spreading all of the little pieces out, making sure it looks good and fringy and beard-like. This is a piece of just some fuzzy felt that I believe came from Joann's. And all I'm doing is just cutting a piece about 2 inches wide, and I just folded it over and sealed it. Then I just took a wood bead, a flat wood bead for the nose, and now I'm just gluing my little hat brim all the way around. And I'm just going to glue it to the back so that it wraps around. So now I'm just trying to decide what I want to do for my poof ball on the top, if I want to do the fur or if I want to do the sweater. And I decided to go with the fur. So now I'm just sort of playing around with this to figure out how I want to make a poof ball. And I just cut a square of this fur, and I just start gathering the fabric together around the cotton batting. So I just keep doing little by little, just a little dot of glue, and then just pulling the fabric up as I go. Just be careful not to burn yourself on this part. Be very easy to do. And believe it or not, I did not burn myself. Now I just start putting my ball, my poof ball on. And I decide I don't like it. It looks too big. So now I'm just coming back and trying to just kind of tighten it a little bit to make it a little smaller and maybe look a little bit better. And I kind of offset it just a little bit, set it to the side just a smidge, instead of trying to center it perfectly. So now you guys know me, I'm going to put a bow on here. I just wanted something super simple. This is the red gingham ribbon from Dollar Tree. I'm just gonna put that on as a little bow. And then I think, well, maybe I might like to have some sort of green or some berries or something like that. I end up not liking any of it, but I tried it anyways. And I decide just the bow is all it needs.